Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Thanks for checking in. We are going to be doing a little bit of work around a pond today. We're going to be working on an overflow. So what we got going today is we're going to go down to a good friend of ours' house. We've done quite a few projects for him over the years, and he's got a small pond that we believe is starting to leak around the overflow going through the dam. Alrighty, so here, we'll start up here. Here's our pond, beautiful little pond. And we've got an overflow, comes through this dam and then spills out the backside into another pond. That one's not his. His pond is, or his property, I believe, comes up to the edge of these trees here. But anyways, here's the overflow, and you can see we've had quite a bit of washout on the inside here. And I don't know if you guys can see, I'm not going to stick my hand in there, but there's actually water flowing around the dirt. You can see back there if you shine a flashlight. So we very obviously have a break in this overflow somewhere between here and up there. Where? We're not totally sure. We're going to find out. My guess is that probably this whole entire pipe is going to be pretty well compromised, given that it's probably several decades old, and these things just don't last forever. Today's goal is just to identify where the problem is and go from there. Right on up. So we'll set up and see where we can reach. I'm not sure we're going to be able to reach all the way down with the backhoe sitting up here. We do have an opening right there. We can back it down and dig from the bottom. I know between the two we'll be able to get it, but I would prefer to just stay up here if I can. We've got an extendo hoe on this backhoe, so it has a pretty decent reach, but we'll move if we need to. So one thing we will want to pay attention to when we're digging on this dam, dams are kind of I don't want to say a science, but you have to be careful, because a lot of times these dams are put in, or they should be put in correctly, and by that I mean using the correct soil types and compaction. You don't just basically throw a bunch of dirt in here and hope that it holds the water back, because what will happen is your dam will end up leaking and eroding away, because all the pressure from this water, through gravity and whatnot, you've got, say, maybe 10 feet of water in this pond or whatever it ends up being. All that pressure actually will push down on the water and want to push it through the soil if the dam was not constructed properly. So when you're building a dam, you'll see there's a lot of great YouTube channels out there. Let's Dig 18 is like a pond god, and he goes into detail really good about how they construct a dam. They dig a core trench, get down to the clay, and then they start grading it out, and then they pack it in with their off-road truck or some sort of a compaction equipment. So that's what we got to be careful of, so that we don't do any damage to this. So we'll, anything that we dig up, of course, we're going to have to make sure we put back and put it back correctly. So we might have to get some compaction equipment in here, whatever it takes. drop a little piece of dirt in here, and you probably can't hear it, but I could hear water, so that tells me we definitely have water, not where it needs to be. There, I knew it. You're supposed to be in there, not there. There, not there. So that pretty much confirms our theory that this whole entire culvert is pretty well compromised, rotted out at the bottom, which is not uncommon. These culverts, these old metal galvanized culverts, they just didn't last, you know, as long as like a plastic one would. And this thing probably is, I mean, 40 or 50 years old. I don't know how old it is, but it has definitely served its purpose. It's been good for a lot of years, and the technology just wasn't as good as it is these days. Now we have plastic culverts that in theory will pretty much last forever, so more than likely we're going to end up just having to dig this whole entire thing out and putting a new plastic one in. The homeowner has some other plans about possibly wanting to fill in this area along the back here and dredge his pond like we were talking earlier, so probably gonna have a conversation about how we want to proceed with this to tie in with some future plans that he might have. So we're gonna take a quick break, discuss a couple things. I might expose that pipe a little bit more and just get an eye on what we got there and go from there. So got a little bit better look here. There's pretty much an underground, I'm gonna call it a little channel, and it's as hollow as I can stick my shovel back there, hollow and soft. So you can see the water is just finding its own little route underneath the culvert and the overflow, and it's going out, and it's probably just, more than likely it's following somewhat close to that culvert, but nonetheless it's not following that path. And what'll happen over time is it'll continue to eat out all this dirt around here, and then at some point you could have an opening here in your dam, somebody to fall into, roll an ankle, or even worst case scenario, compromise your whole entire dam to where the whole, you know, we need to go back and dig out the whole thing, this whole section, which might kind of be where we end up on this portion, but still it's better to address it sooner than later. And honestly, this is something that has probably been going on for several years now, and this is just now starting to show itself on the downstream side, which is what alerted the homeowner that this was going on. But all this rusting and degradation of the erosion of this culvert that they used as an overflow, this is not something that happened overnight, so it's just gotten worse and worse over the years. If we were to open up the top of this culvert, you would probably see basically that whole entire bottom pretty well eaten out. And so in a large rain event where there's a lot of water coming in this thing in the mouth, it probably some water does come through this culvert from start to finish, and but during normal flow, there's probably enough openings in the bottom of this to where most of that water is just flowing through and continue to erode around this and compromise that dam. So it's a good thing we're getting this addressed now, and this isn't something that needs to happen like later this afternoon, but probably over the next couple weeks or a month or so, we're going to have to obviously make a decision on how we want to proceed, because I don't think that there is going to be any way to repair this section. So we've come up with a pretty decent game plan, I think, for the most part, and we're just trying to troubleshoot this to make sure that we proceed in the appropriate manner. So there was a little bit of concern that that water is not necessarily leaking from where it's coming in the culvert, but possibly around the mouth of this, whether that's somewhere along the side here or underneath, whatever that case may be. There is a liner in here, and if it's any sort of an opening where that water's coming in, that liner. So that would be a lot more work trying to pretty much dig this whole entire mouth up. This is one big chunk of concrete, and I assume it goes all the way back over to here. So we got to thinking about it, and we thought, well, you know what? There's one easy way to figure out where the water and the leakage is coming from. So come and just dump some extra water in here. Do we see more water flowing? Yes, we do. So that pretty much answered that question, which is good because now we know that we don't have a problem necessarily with water coming in around the mouth, but it's coming in and getting out in this culvert or in this overflow somewhere. So that's good. We're going to explore a couple options to see how we're going to proceed with this, but we might be taking a look at trying to sleeve this with another section of plastic, smaller, possibly a 12-inch. So we'll see. So once again, we had just a slight change in how we're going to proceed forward with this. Put our brains together and figured out that we're actually going to just take 12-inch PVC pipe and basically sleeve both ends of that tile or that overflow. And there's another 12-inch. We're gonna just sleeve it with another 12-inch PVC right to the very end there, and then we're gonna go as far into that mouth of the overflow as we possibly can. But we're gonna go home, grab the mini excavator, the dump trailer, the pipe, grab some lunch while we're out also, and come back and get the pipe thrown in there. And it should be fairly quick once we get back down there. So we're doing good on time. It's only 10:30, so cruising along, just a little bit of troubleshooting on this job, trying to figure out how we're going to proceed forward, and just takes a little bit of time, but it's going good. Got the pipe, got the T, got the mini. We're going to go get started on putting this pipe in. For any of you guys that watch, does this road look familiar? This is the road we put in probably 2 months ago. Looks really good. Holding up nicely. It's smooth. We had a very minor setback. After about 30 seconds of digging on this wet hill, we slipped the track. So I'm gonna release the tension. There's a grease zerk in there. That's how you tension them. Open that up. We'll push that wheel back in, slip the track back on, get some more grease on it, and hopefully be back in business. All right, after a little bit of work and a few choice words about God and Jesus, we're back up and running. So we're gonna try to make our way up there just so we can dig a nice trench down and get the pipe in and wrap this up. got this mostly dug out. Maybe a little touch up down there to do, but just to be clear, this is not how you would normally want to put drainage pipe in. There's a lot of mud in here. There's definitely some soft ground underneath here, and there's really no way for us to dry this out and for us to dig it out down to dry ground. Doesn't really make sense. Normally you would obviously dig out any of the muck, put rock down, lay the pipe in there. Since this is a pond dam, I don't want to do any rock in here because that's just another way for water to easily permeate through this dam. So we just want to keep it all dirt. What we'll probably do is lay that pipe in here and then just maybe very gently backfill around it. Let it settle some, let it dry up a little bit, because once the water starts flowing through the pipe, this ground should dry. And then we'll probably just come back at some point, backfill a little bit more. We might do this one in stages, but just wanted to point that out. I think it's going to work fine for this application, but had this been a water line or a drainage for a culvert, a driveway, something like that, we definitely would not be backfilling it over this muck. All right, so this doesn't happen very often, fortunately, and not really overly excited about having to say this, but we've been defeated on today's project, and not necessarily to our fault. So here's where we're at now. We've pretty much dug up all the way to the mouth of this overflow, and what had happened was we tried to advance that 12-inch pipe you can see in through that 16-inch culvert that was previously in here, and there was just way too many obstructions. That pipe had basically rotted out enough to the point where when we tried to push the pipe through, it just kept breaking the bottom of it, and we were just jamming it into bare ground. So the other issue is that there was a steep enough angle on this. Trying to get that pipe to make that angle just wasn't cutting it. Unfortunately, this project, it started out as just coming and bringing the backhoe. We're going to dig an exploratory hole, figure out where our leak is at. We're going to address that leak. We're going to cover it up, and we're going to be done. And unfortunately, this project has changed to where now it's going to be an entire replacement of the overflow from basically right here to out here. And as you can see, we encountered a big chunk of concrete, and that was probably a contributor as to why we couldn't get through with that pipe. You can see the very edge right here of the belt end where we were pushing through, and I'm sure this end right here was just rotted. There might have been some concrete around the edge of it. It just wasn't going to push through. The whole day was just one challenge after another, but that's sometimes how these jobs go. We don't know exactly what we're getting into. Knowing what we know now, would I have even come down here with the backhoe? No. Actually, I would have just brought the excavator down here, and we would have just replaced this whole entire thing. We would have been able to do that. Got that dug out, piece of cake. We would have pulled this baby out, dug one big trench in through here. Would have been done. Probably would have been a half-day job. But as we got into it, we realized that this is going to be a lot more extensive than what we prepared for. So no big deal. The homeowner's not upset. He was here with us the whole entire time. We definitely gave it our all on trying to shove a new pipe in here and make work, kind of take the easy way. Good initial first step on the project, but unfortunately that was just not the solution for this job. So we'll be back down here at a later date, probably within the next week or two. Hopefully get the excavator in here, redig this, and be good to go. So thanks for watching.